The Cursed Rooftop. A family of four, a father, mother, and their two children, had long dreamed of owning a place of their own. When they finally bought and renovated the rooftop apartment above their old residence, they felt an overwhelming sense of achievement. The neighbors who had lived in the building for years gave them polite but strangely cryptic warnings. "The rooftop has a past," one elderly woman murmured before quickly changing the subject. At first, life seemed normal. The apartment was airy, modern, and had a beautiful view of the city skyline. But within a week, strange occurrences began to seep into their lives. The first signs. It started subtly. Each family member would wake up at exactly 3 a.m., feeling parched, compelled to drink water. At first, they joked about their synchronized thirst, but then came the whispers. From above their ceiling, there were soft voices murmuring unintelligible words. At first, they dismissed it as a trick of the wind or noise from nearby apartments. But soon they began hearing footsteps pacing their kitchen at night, the sound of chairs scraping against the floor. Then the dead rodents appeared, scattered in unusual places. A lifeless rat found on the dining table, another inside the daughter's school bag. The mother once reached into a kitchen drawer for a spoon, only to pull out a dead lizard instead. The eeriest part? They often heard each other's voices, calling them from empty rooms. The father would hear his daughter's voice only to find her asleep. The daughter swore she heard her mother calling her from the kitchen, but when she checked, her mother was still in bed. Shaken, they finally spoke to their downstairs neighbors. The response was disturbing. "Oh, don't worry about it. These things happen. We've lived here for over a decade, and we've gotten used to it." Used to what exactly? The daughters' drawing things took a terrifying turn when their daughter's school started. They had recently bought her fresh supplies, paints, adhesives, notebooks, everything she needed. One night she worked on a school assignment, a drawing of a character from her book. She took pride in her work, presenting it to her parents and teachers the next morning. Everyone praised the remarkable detail of the drawing. It was eerily lifelike, almost as if it could move on its own. That night, she placed the notebook on her desk and went to bed. She had no idea that this night would haunt her forever. The horror begins. At exactly midnight, the girl awoke with a strange sensation. She couldn't move. Paralyzed, her eyes darted frantically around the dimly lit room. Then she saw it. Her notebook was open on its own, and from its pages, something was crawling out. It was her drawing. But it was no longer just ink on paper. It was standing upright, peeling itself off the page, becoming flesh. The character's empty black eyes locked onto hers. And then she saw it. It was holding a knife. Her breath quickened. She wanted to scream, but her body refused to respond. Her mind screamed while her mouth remained frozen shut. The creature moved towards her, its jagged ink-like limbs contorting as it shapeshifted. One moment it was her drawing. The next it bore the face of her mother, then her father, then her own distorted face grinning at her with an inhuman smile. Time stretched into eternity. She lay there helpless as the nightmare unfolded. The creature loomed over her, its presence suffocating. Then, without warning, it slashed her cheeks. The pain was real. The warmth of her own blood trickled onto her pillow. The mother's discovery. At exactly 3 a.m., her mother awoke, feeling a sudden wave of anxiety. Something was wrong. She rushed to her daughter's room, throwing the door open, and froze in horror. Her daughter lay motionless, blood smeared across her face. The notebook was glued shut, its pages fused together as if sealed by something unnatural. Panicked, she shook her daughter awake, but she remained unresponsive. They rushed her to the hospital. The unraveling truth doctors were baffled. The wounds were real, yet there was no sign of forced entry. The cuts were precise, clean, too deliberate to be self-inflicted. When the daughter finally woke up, she could barely speak. Her voice was hoarse and she could only whisper one word: notebook. Upon returning home, the mother hesitated before picking up the strange book. A deep fear settled in her stomach. Slowly, she pried it open. The pages were blank, every single one. The drawing had vanished. That night, she decided to burn the notebook. As she watched it turn to ash, a deep guttural whisper filled the air. "You can't erase me." The wind howled violently, extinguishing the flames before the book was fully destroyed. The final night. The family was terrified. They decided to leave, but something wasn't ready to let them go. That night, at exactly 3 a.m., they were all jolted awake by the sound of footsteps. This time, the sounds were inside their rooms. The father saw shadows moving in the corner. The mother heard whispers calling her name. The daughter lay paralyzed again, the weight of unseen hands pressing down on her chest. The younger son, he was missing from his bed. Panic set in as they searched the apartment. Finally, they found him, standing on the rooftop's edge, inches away from falling. His eyes were empty, soulless. He pointed towards the open sky and whispered, "They are waiting." The mother grabbed him just in time. That was their final warning. The escape. By morning, they had packed their essentials and left the apartment forever. The moment they stepped outside, the heavy atmosphere lifted. The suffocating presence was gone. They moved far away, never speaking of that place again. But sometimes late at night, the daughter would wake up, feeling that same paralyzing weight. And in the shadows of her room, she would see the faint outline of her drawing, watching her,